I asked a friend, I said, what's it like doing business with American corporations? And he went, oh. He said, when we do financial stuff, we're like people in the US. We are ruthless, everything is transactional, we're just nasty. He said, but we had a really steep learning curve for everything else. He said, because when we're not doing finance, when we're doing business, when we're buying and selling products or services or goods, we have a completely different mindset. And I'm like, oh my God, explain, what do you mean? He goes, okay, so when we're doing a business transaction, we don't see this as a one-off event. We see this as the start of a relationship. Our goal is not to create a contract to sell you a good. Our goal is to create a long-term relationship where we'll still have interactions in the future. And he said, so what would happen is US business people would come and they'd draw their daggers and they'd negotiate hard for every detail in that contract, like it was life or death. And he said, what we would do is we'd just capitulate to all of it. We'd be like, okay, yeah, we can do that for you. Sure, you want that too? Yeah. And we would just give them the concessions they kept demanding, because in our mind, this is the first step in a long-term relationship. And next year when they come back, maybe they won't be so desperate and we'll be able to make a better deal for us. So he said, so we take losses just to create the relationship, and then we'd never hear from them again. The contract is signed, gone, done. And he goes, yeah, so what we've learned is when we deal with Americans, everything is transactional. There's no humanity involved. We don't. We just know we'll never see them again, and that they're going to come in and ask the most outrageous, nonsensical things, and we have to bargain really hard. We have to just draw our daggers out and be just as ruthless, because there's no long-term benefit to any sacrifice we make for that contract. He said, but we don't have that relationship with anywhere else on the planet. He said, when we deal with Europeans have long-term relationship as their goal. He said, but you know what? There's somebody even more extreme than us and then extreme than the Europeans, the Japanese. He said, when the Japanese come over, they want a relationship to the point where they bring their family, and they're gonna insist that we invite them to our homes for a home-cooked meal, including their family members. And when they come back next year, they expect us to know their children's names. And he said, so we love doing business with Japan because they're like us. We're maybe not quite as extreme, but we're really close. Like that's how we want to do business. It's a family event. We're making a long-term relationship that'll last decades. That's how we do business with Europe, with Africa, with Asia, but not US. How did we get there? And the answer is, I just told you. The moment we landed, we saw everything as, how can I transfer wealth from those people into my pocket? Everything became a ruthless transaction where we dehumanize the other side. Think about the cruelty of stealing land from a family that's farming, and then the cruelty of kidnapping a person and dragging them across the Atlantic in chains, where a huge portion of them will just die at sea. And then you stick them into a position where there's no possibility for them to better their lives. They just serve you so that you can steal their labor.